Hey Muses, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing a deep dive into the Shadow Seers Tarot. But before we go into the deep dive and talking about each individual card, please make sure that you have subscribed to the channel, given this video a thumbs up, left a comment down below, and turned on that notification bell so you do not miss another tarot deck review. If this is your first time finding my channel, hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Tyler, your deck specialist here on the interwebs and all across social media as T-Mann Tarot. So yeah, today we are talking about the Shadow Seers Tarot, and we will be comparing it side by side with the Albino Weight Tarot, just for your own reference. All of the decks will be linked down below, and just as a refresher, it comes in this lovely guide, or lovely box. It is a 2-piece insert, which is not my favorite, and a very hefty, well-detailed, and thought-out guidebook. Now, if you want the quick and easy version of this deck review, head on over to my YouTube channel and check out the deck review, but we are going to kind of rearrange and get situated and start with the majors and work through the minors. So the Shadow Seers Tarot deck is about doing the shadow work, seeing the things that you might be going under the surface and missing. It is a darker side of the tarot, as you will see by some of the keywords that are on the cards. That is why I've decided to pull the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery that we're used to so we can see the side by side. I had a couple of people reach out to me about the original deck release for this when I did my deck review, asking about it being a beginner-friendly deck. This is absolutely not a beginner-friendly deck, so I do not recommend this as a starter deck. Please use like an RWS Rider-Waite-Smith imagery or something that is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. So, hubris, the fool, right? Being that risky, that idea of the Icarus flying too close to the sun. That's understandable. The magician. Keyword here is the manipulator, which that is a great kind of keyword for the darker side of the magician. And I'm kind of understanding and trying to figure out, it's not my favorite, but why isn't there, why aren't there any numbers here? Why? But you have numbers on the... There are numbers listed on the minors. Why aren't there numbers listed on the majors? But this kind of is working as an oracle deck because you have a keyword above the title name. This is the High Priestess. The Abandoned Bride, which is interesting, that choice, and also playing on the idea of the female popess, whether that was true or not. But the Abandoned Bride, I'm not necessarily sure why we're calling her a bride, and that it's not talking about, like, you know, the seductress. I think there is kind of other seductresses used outside in the minors, so it's an interesting choice to call the High Priestess the Abandoned Bride. The Empress being called the Cannibal Mother, that is harsh. That is a harsh take on the nurturing side of the Empress here. And so it's that fun understanding that, like, you know, the Empress is supposed to be nurturing and caring, but this is kind of that cannibalistic, that mother who eats her children. Like, is this really what you wanted to birth into the world? The Emperor being the tyrant. I love that keyword for the Emperor. It's a lovely kind of take on the dominance and the power-hungry, controlled side of the Emperor. The Hierophant, the Skinwalker, that is, like, that just, these keywords that they, the deck creator has decided to use, they really pack a punch, right? You can kind of see that this Skinwalker is a fraud, is a charlatan, if you will, this kind of notion that like, are you imitating this kind of notion? So the key words here really pack a drastic punch. The Lovers being the nemesis. It's giving me like book talk energy of like the idea of like enemy to lovers trope here, but the nemesis. The Chariot and the Swamp, which is kind of interesting. I'm not necessarily seeing it, but definitely something to dive into the book with. Strength, like frailty being for strength, that weakness here, right? The frailty of the person who's trying to control the beast, the lion, and we can still see the lion's mouth here. Forgive my water, but like the frailty is a lovely word for the keyword, and I might take some of these keywords and like write them down for my myself here, kind of having that like reverse side. The Spectator, right? The Hermit, instead of choosing to self-reflect, they're just kind of like off in the sidelines, refusing to get involved. Wheel of Fortune, the Curse. Interesting word choice, right? These cursed cycles, things aren't learning, we aren't moving forward, we kind of keep living in this kind of negative aspect here. Justice, bureaucracy. Yeah, giving me red tape energy, that bureaucracy, that like we don't necessarily have control over what's happening in justice. Hanged Man, the Pity Party. That is so, the wise me. What is this happening? Is this really my fault? Like, you put yourself there, girl. The Murderer, Death, which is interesting, right? It's that idea, instead of letting things come to their own natural end, we have taken matters into our own hands. Impulse for Temperance is a fun kind of like, do we have impulse control? Are we doing this for harmony, or are we doing this to throw things off? Scapegoat for the Devil. Ugh. Kind of hitting into that like, hey, this isn't really your fault. You've done nothing wrong, right? You just have this kind of being placed upon you that's out of your control. Gaslighter for the Tower, which is lovely, right? Being gaslit into thinking that there's chaos and destruction, that things are going wrong, that you are the problem, that you are causing these destroys and downfalls. Forlorn, which, right? I'm getting angsty. I'm getting this forlorn, like, woe is me. Oh God, like, come on, stop moping around and get up and get going. You're on the other side of this. Let's get going. We're done with the wallowing. The Moon and the Deceiver, right? It kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of the moon. With sometimes the moon provides us with illusions and falsenesses. So like the Deceiver, I usually say that sometimes the moon, if sometimes things seem too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. The Destroyer, the Sun. Listen, too much sun is never a good thing, right? This notion that like you could get burned by what you're doing, right? Joy and happiness and positivity, right? It's that toxic positivity with the Destroyer in a way. Judgment is the Punisher, right? Sometimes judgment is harsh. Sometimes judgment is needed so that you can figure out how we move forward. And the World, the apocalypse, things ending without our control. It's the downfall. Lovely keywords for the majors. The Pentacles now. Eminent domain, taking something that wasn't meant for you. Love that kind of analogy. Usury, right? What are we using? Are we using it to the best of our ability? I believe that that's how it's said. But again, a word that I'm going to have to look up and dive into. But like this idea of like, well, what are we actually using? Are we using these things that we're trying to juggle to the best of our ability here? The cult for a Three of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles is usually teamwork makes the dream work, collaboration, but are we really in this together for the right reasons? And this notion here with the RWS imagery, you as the person are not here. You're watching the people working on your thing. So did you cult them into doing your bidding? Jealousy, coveting things, right? You're hoarding, you're jealous of what you have or what other people have. You're trying to take things and hoard them and kind of not let them be. So like jealousy of what people are doing around you. Interesting take. The parasite for the Five of Pentacles. This idea that like, listen, friend, you might be down on the dumps, but you are eating away at the people, places, and things that you bring this dampening energy to. You are that like an energy vampire. Interesting. Unsure. Sorry, friends. Pride. Pride for the Seven of Pentacles. This notion that like, hey, there's still a lot of work to do. You're being a little bit too prideful here. Like, you still have a long way to go before you can really celebrate. Don't let your pride be your downfall here. The Slave, Eight of Pentacles. That slave energy here is like we're working so hard for these things that like we aren't understanding and letting the craft be the craft, the work be the work. We're totally hyper fixated on this, that this is all that we can think of. It kind of reminds me that I used to, when I first went to college, I started out in the music program, right? And you had to take like 24 classes just to even get to 12 credits. And you became kind of a slave to music and to the classes, that it took the fun out of being a musician and an artist, and it just felt monotonous. So I can understand and pull together the slave here with the Eight of Pentacles. Copycat. This notion of authenticity and faking it until you make it, but is this really your faking that you want to be making? Are you copying somebody else's confidence? Or are you really owning it yourself? The Legacy. Now, this is interesting, right? I don't see the Legacy as being negative. Because sometimes I call it the legacy, the lineage card, the passing things down. This isn't as shadowy or as dark as I would like want it to be. I would say like maybe even the word inheritance, or this notion that like you're gaining something from the loss of something else. Might be a good 10 of Pentacles. The Page, the validation seeker. That is a great kind of call out of the Page, right? It's like, why can't you give yourself the validation you need? You do not need to keep getting it from other people. The Slumlord for the Knight of Pentacles. They're slow moving, kind of gluttonous, kind of just this like, ooh, you are in the mud here. You are just kind of not going through the way you want to. And are you actually taking advantage of the people, places, and things that are around you? The Queen of Pentacles, the Madam. And this is what I was talking to and referring to, that there are more, sex positive descriptions of some of the queens. So the High Priestess being the, abandoned bride here does make sense, because the Queen of Pentacles and being the Madam is that kind of pleasure, but you are pulling and holding the purse strings to that pleasure. Mechanitor, or it's giving puppet master. I would call the King of Pentacles a puppet master, pulling the strings, right? That's the kind of energy, especially from this image, that I'm getting. But again, gonna have to look into that word. The sword suit. So remember, swords are our thoughts, words, and actions. So cruelty as the Ace of Swords. Are you being cruel with the things that you are saying and doing? Two of Swords, vaculation? Vaculation? So some of these words, and I want to dive deeper into them, and if you know what they are, feel free to put the comments below. Do you know what these words are off the top of your head? Self-pity for the Three of Swords. Love that. It's a pity party. Hey, YouTube friends, this is education. So, that word for the Four of Swords, that's harsh. That is really kind of putting that notion that, like, hey, there's an end here. It's not rest, it's an end. It's a finality. So that's the Narcissist for the Five of Swords, which that is a fun take on the Five of Swords, in this notion that, like, you're doing this because you like to be a problem. You like to be a pain in the butt. You like to take advantage of other people. The Plunderer. And this is fun to kind of talk about because I always have a weird problem with the Six of Swords, especially how the swords are put into the boat. Welcome to New York City. Background noise. There's always going to be something. The Six of Swords being sharp, pointy side down into the boat. Did you plunder your own kind of travel, right? Did you poke holes or did you put the right thing in? So the plunderer, right, taking things. You pillaged and plundered and caused chaos in the things that you were trying to do. Appropriation. A great keyword to describe taking something that doesn't belong to you. Paranoia. Now, we're going to kind of do these side by side because the Nine of Swords is dread. I would say that dread for me goes more for the 8 and paranoia goes better for the 9 of Swords. What do you think? Annihilation is a great keyword for the 10 of Swords. It's this annihilation. It's over. It's done. We've overkilled it. Now, the courts are so fun, some of these keywords. Gossip for the Page of Swords. Love that. Violence for the Knight of Swords, and this is giving me like Freddy Krueger vibes, right? The Prude for the Queen of Swords, which that is a great other keyword for the Queen of Swords. She's so tight-laced in herself that, like, the Queen of Swords would 100% be the prude at the party. And the King of Swords, merciless. Yeah, that is, right? The King of Swords acts without heart. So they can be kind of merciless. The Wands pertaining to our fire, our passion, our creativity, and the connection to spirit. So Ace of Wands being propaganda is a hot topic issue, and kind of this like, hey, what are we being fed, right? This hand of Monty Python, hand of God situation. Like, what are we being fed here? the colonizer for the Two of Wands. Now, again, I'm going to do this side by side here with the 3 because I kind of think, right? I don't know. I feel like colonizer, the word colonizer might fit better for the 3 of Wands, and quid pro quo kind of fits a little bit better with the 2 of Wands, in my opinion, only because you're trying to make a plan. So, like, what's the fine print here? And colonizer, right, with the idea of the ships here, you know? And, like, what are you setting out to take and conquer here? Are you conquering something that's really good? I don't know. What are your thoughts? I also can see colonizer for the 2 of Wands because, like, is your plan good intentions, right? And the idea quid pro quo is, like, what's the fine print of what you're actually doing? Do you understand the details of what you're trying to go out and go after? I think both can work either way. So if the 4 of Wands is marriage, celebration, the hearth and home, the opposite of that is divorce. Also, again, why on the minors are there numbers, but the majors had no numbers on it? Pet peeve. Rivalry, great idea for the 5 of Wands. Is it heated rivalry? And it kind of also matches because the idea sometimes for the 5 of Wands is that it's a dick measuring contest, right? Or like we're all swinging our privates around and not getting accomplished what we need to be getting accomplished here. Self-righteous for the 6 of Wands. That makes total sense. King of the Hill for the 7 of Wands. Totally on point. Slander is interesting. I definitely want to read into why the creator chose slander, but I don't want to get into that now. The guidebook is hefty. So with me and my dyslexic, fun, neurospicy side, I actually need to sit down and read it for myself. But slander is an interesting word choice for the 8 of Wands. Ego wound, well, that Band-Aid here, right? Are you actually in trouble, or is this just your ego being wounded that you haven't quite made it yet to that finish line? False martyr. That's an interesting choice. I don't know. Like, false martyr kind of feels swords related to me, right? I would even say maybe self-martyr might be a good word for the 8 of Swords. Because I look at the 8 of Swords as that, like, self-inflicted entrapment, right? So, like, self-martyr, or even for the 10 of Swords, actually, right? Self-martyr kind of leads to the idea that, like, you've lost the plot. All right. We're in the courts. Avoidant. All right. Avoiding the messages, avoiding the passion, avoiding this, like, what you actually need to get done. Abandoner. Okay. Queen of Vanity for the Queen of Wands. That is a great word, right? This vanity and vainness of, like, right? The Queen of Wands, you say, like, sometimes she knows what she wants to do. She doesn't need permission, but, like, is it vain? Is it for her own dealings, or is it actually for the betterment of everyone else? And yep, again, dyslexia for the win. Not sure what ability, stability. Yeah, sorry, friends. Aces, our emotions, our feelings, our love. And if the Ace of Cups is love and all of that, then the opposite is hatred. Betrayal for the Two of Cups. Spot on. That is a great keyword for the understanding that, like, the Two of Cups is about having conversations for the sake of healing and growth, but sometimes it can lead to a betrayal. Debauchery. Love that, right? If we're celebrating with our coven, what debauchery, what good, bad fun are we getting into? Indulgence, which is really great with this idea of, like, what are you indulging in, and is this really for you? Misery, great for the Five of Cups. Spoiled brat for the Six of Cups. This made me laugh, and these diamond or like, yeah, diamond eyes, so good. Addiction for the Seven of Cups. Addicted to difference, addicted to going to different things, not committing. It's an interesting choice. Rumination, like, if the Eight of Cups is we're meant to move on, then rumination is that we're sitting in it, right? We're staying too long. Glutton for the Nine of Cups, totally get that. In excuse me, in my Gustave Doré deck, the 9 does feel very gluttonous in that deck. Toxic family for the 10 of Cups. That makes sense. A con man for the Page of Cups. Love that. Like, the emotional manipulation. The player, right? The Knight of Cups is the Prince Charming of Tarot, but the player for the Knight of Cups makes total sense as the opposite. Female fatale for the Queen of Cups. Love that. And the King of Cups, the Diva, right? Which is funny to put the Diva, usually a feminine name, which I would have thought might have been the Queen of Cups, really works for the King of Cups. And why am I thinking of tired-ass showgirl with this pairing? So again, just some quick things about the card stock. It is high gloss. Does lead to uprights and inversions. Let's give you a quick little shuffle. Shuffles beautifully. If you've made it this far into the video, comment below tired ass showgirl. But a full little walkthrough of all of the individual cards of the Shadow Seer Tarot is coming up right now. Thanks for being here, friends.